And speaking of that, what breaks first for customers as you go from 1 to 10 and then from 10 to higher numbers of robots?
Mm. I think the traffic control is where it gets challenging. So deploying one robot is very straightforward because it's one unit. But where you start scaling the numbers, especially if it's in a more confined space or a very limited width of, say, corridors or aisles, trying to coordinate traffic between that can start becoming very challenging. There's ways to work around it, of enforcing some traffic configurations or rules or setting one-way directions, but the robots have their own sensors and they're designed to be safe. So if they're starting to see other things getting very close, it will do a good job. It will do its job of trying to avoid that obstacle. But when you start congesting a lot, yeah, it can be quite chaotic. It's a bit like with cars and traffic jams. If the highway is empty, it's very easy to flow. But when you start having other drivers, yeah,
The rule
become a
here,
lot more
who
alert.
goes first, who has the
Yeah.
right of way, all of those complications come in. No, that's I can see the complexity multiplying as the number of actors add up, robot and non-robot. Um, and I guess that becomes the key to success for a deployment, being able to have clarity around that, provide safety, and still maintain productivity, right? So how how does that work? How are you for a customer, somebody who's trying to deploy it, let's say in an industrial setting, with a lot of different a scale deployment, a lot of different robots. How does that rule setting work? If I'm trying to deploy it in my industrial setting, how do I
Mm.
go? Who goes in to which system to define these rules?
Mm. In our case, it would be the party that's assigns the installation to the site, which can be in certain cases either the robot manufacturer who has a direct distribution to the end customer. So they would do that setup. They would do the configuration. It usually starts with that they do the mapping of the area using the robots, say a LiDAR scan as an example, and then they would utilize that map. The same process can also be done by the system integrator, who would be contracted to be the installer but also maintainer of that deployment. Um, on our case, it would be either of those parties. It can be the end customers themselves, but usually they would have an internal team that's specialized or trained to be the technical roboticist, as to say. Um, but in that setup, you would start with the mapping, and then utilizing that map, you then start setting out the parameters. So you set the no entry zones where the robot shouldn't be going in, say emergency exits, as an example. You would set up the start points, endpoints, stations, and then also the traffic rules. Maybe you're going to be enforcing the one-way directional traffic or bi-directional. Um, so it'll be very early on that you would start implementing this, and then you run the initial tests, see that it's behaving as it should, and then start growing and scaling.
Got it.